Hi, I fight the harmful effects of EMF radiation. I'm Mike Garcia. I create and distribute the Metayantra pranic devices, or MPDs for short. So what are the MPDs? The MPDs are handmade devices capable of transforming electromagnetic radiation and generating pranic energy, also known as orgone or life energy. They are made of three main elements. The first one is resin. The second one is metal. And finally, the third one is quartz. I studied electronics and telecommunications engineering. I used to consider myself skeptical on any subject that was out of official science. I'm very familiar with transmissions in telecommunications and electromagnetism as well. Resin is a polymer that has electrostatic properties that attract atoms with a positive charge from the environment. Metal is a great electric conductor. We are surrounded by electromagnetic radiation all the time, whether it is natural or artificial. Radiation has energy, and that energy can be transformed into a magnetic current by the phenomenon of magnetic induction. On any given physical matter, every current will always seek for the best conductor to travel through. In this case, it is the metal. It doesn't need to be a specific metal as long as it is a conductor. Since the wire is wrapped as a coil, it ends up working as an antenna. This is a starship coil. As you can see, the patterns are repeated. It works as a fractal antenna. So, EMF radiation is coming from everywhere, naturally and artificially. For example, deep in the woods, we have electromagnetic radiation, which comes from the sun. Even from Earth itself, or from other planets, we are hit with radiation constantly. Quartz is used as a frequency regulator. From big radio transmission antennas down to your daily used cell phone. Every cell phone includes quartz that regulates the operative frequency of its antenna. In the case of our Metayantra pranic devices, we use natural quartz only. Natural quartz works on low frequencies. The quartz used on transmission antennas in telecommunications is synthetic quartz of high frequency. High frequencies are very harmful to us. On the other hand, low natural frequencies don't harm us at all. So the function of the quartz on the MPDs is to regulate radiation by transmuting high frequencies into lower frequencies. Your cell phone radiation, radio signals, TV, satellite signals, etc. They all start from 900 MHz as minimum, and all the way up to gigahertz signals. Now that we know what is the role of each element in a Metayantra pranic device, let me tell you how do MPDs help you. As I mentioned before, we are surrounded by electromagnetic energy every second of our daily life. The whole universe is an electromagnetic spectrum, even colors are electromagnetic radiation. So constant exposure to high levels of EMF radiation affect us, right on our nervous system, particularly on the heart. Having a cell phone close to the heart constantly alters its natural frequency. It is like the heart copying and assimilating the higher frequency of the cell phone. And it happens the same with the brain. By wearing an MPD, it will help you to reroute and transmute this radiation. In other words, you will stop copying the synthetic high-frequency pattern of the harmful radiation by lowering it down. Throughout the day, you are continuously exposed to radiation of 2 GHz, which is very common nowadays on electronic devices. This extremely high-frequency radiation will directly hit your body, precisely speaking, the heart and the brain. So both of them will start functioning with strong alterations regularly, which will drive your nervous system nuts and you will be like this 24/7. This could explain the never-seen-before levels of stress in cities. When wearing an MPD, instead of the radiation reaching your body directly, it will reach the MPD first, because of the presence of a better conductor, which is the metal starship coil. The starship coil, acting as a fractal antenna, will attract the high-frequency radiation, and it will start going through the wire. The wire is magnet wire. This means that each cord is isolated from the other. Even when the cords are extremely close to each other, they never touch. Let's say the electron enters right here. It has to circulate through here, here, and here. Through all the winding, all of it, it cannot jump from one point to another. So after going through all the winding, an electric current is created by magnetic induction. This is a phenomenon well known in physics and electronics. Every electromagnetic radiation has two components. One electric component, and one magnetic component. The magnetic component is the one that persists in our case. And it will create a biomagnetic field. Why do I call it a biomagnetic field? Because it will be a natural field. Controlled and regulated by the quartz, working on a low frequency. Which will be beneficial. Just as in biomagnetic pair therapy. Which is being used by many doctors nowadays. The quartz will work, thanks to its piezoelectric effect property. And quartz's piezoelectric effect is activated in MPDs due to the compression of the resin. But, what is the piezoelectric effect? The piezoelectric effect is the ability of certain materials to generate an electric charge in response to applied pressure. The first piezoelectric material used in electronic devices is the quartz crystal. The molecular structure of the quartz has electrons on each corner. It is like a cube. So when the quartz is compressed, at least one electron of each atom is released, creating a difference in potential. This is also possible due to the ability of the quartz to absorb cosmic rays. The released electron is then emitted on a specific rhythm, or frequency, as it is called in physics. This means that every certain period, an electron is being released, and the routing of that electron through the winding of the MPD will lower the frequency. The Metayantra pranic devices were first conceived by Ivan Donaldson, a very close friend of mine. Ivan was interested in Orgone Energy and Orgonites. He was researching the subject when he came up with the idea of including a coil into the design of his own Orgonite devices. He was looking to generate an energy vortex. When my friend Ivan showed me the design he was working on, although I was skeptical about Orgonites at that time, it caught my attention indeed. Because the coil he had came up with was working as an antenna. And this made all the sense to me. Electromagnetic and radiation principles were present. My friend Ivan was completely mastering the esoteric side of this discovery. After all, he is a renowned influencer in esoteric and holistic matters for Spanish-speaking audience. But I felt it would be worth it to go deeper into this with a scientific approach. Perhaps even from the perspective of quantum mechanics. So from that point, I started to research, discovering more and more every time. The design of the device was then improved. The coil was upgraded, so it could work as an efficient fractal antenna. The quartz was placed in the specific position, to truly work as an energy vortex, being closest to zero-point energy. Ivan's original idea was to use a copper plate. He didn't think of the coil at the beginning, but since he had no clue about crafting the copper plates, he ended up implementing the coil instead. It is funny because when he shared his idea with me, I knew perfectly how to craft the copper plates, because of the knowledge I had concerning printed circuit boards, due to my engineering and electronics. This led to including a copper plate in some MPD's designs. Just like in this pendant I have here with me. So this is how our quantic resonators models were born. The quantic resonator models include a copper plate, with a specific geometry cut in the center. The plate works as the reflector part of an antenna. This will do two things. First, it reflects the energy, but not all of it, only that according to the geometry shape. Second, that energy shape that is not reflected is imprinted in you. We basically use sacred geometry symbols in our quantic resonators. We consider these symbols to be energy codes containing the right vibration to support your progress and evolution. For example, we use some of the most admired crop circles that have appeared on Earth. When looking for the right materials to manufacture the MPDs, we found that resin is a polymer. It has the physical ability to arrange molecules according to the resonance of whatever is manufactured. In the case of MPDs, molecules arrange to the resonance of the quartz. Besides the electromagnetic protection, Metayantra pranic devices generate ions. Although ions are not exactly created. Ions come from all the atoms in the environment, from air, from water, or whatever other element. They all have a positive or negative charge. Either one of them. The positively charged ions are responsible for oxidation. For example, in a fruit, if it is in contact with the outdoor, it starts to decompose, to oxide. So positive ions oxide our tissues. They are responsible for our body aging. And even though they don't make us ill directly, they do make us vulnerable to sickness by weakening our immune system. However, negative ions, on the contrary, are beneficial to us. In this test, we will use an air ion detector. You can find this detector on Amazon, in case you want to do the test yourself. It is important to carry out the test correctly. You have to ground the hand that will take the reading. Touch the front plate avoiding contact with the back plate, because this is the one that will detect the number of ions by every cubic centimeter of air. In this detector model, the reading of ions is the number shown on the display, multiplied by 10,000. This test clearly shows that the closer we get the detector to the Metayantra Pranic device, the more negative ions are detected.